I too have been very critical of Kevin Durant. I was unhappy. I was frustrated. I was bent about him joining the Golden State Warriors. And last night was the reason why. Kevin Durant is such a complicated guy because you see him last night after that game be completely unwowed by his own performance and instead wanting to give credit to Jeff Green and wanting to give credit to James Harden and gave credit to his coaching staff and training staff. James Harden coming back and being wildly ineffective from the field, but also drawing some defensive attention away from Kevin Durant was crucial. And KD recognized that. And KD recognized that every time he put the ball in Jeff Green's hands, Green came up with a huge three. Kevin Durant recognized that. Durant has been a good teammate and has been a good soldier, and KD played every minute last night and did not want to come out and did not gripe about it or wax himself for it. Last night after the game with Jared Greenberg, our friend on TNT, he was just a straight shooter, and it is refreshing to see a guy be that brilliant and be unimpressed by himself. And then, of course, he has the side of him that comes off as completely petulant, completely petty, completely shallow and combative and ridiculous when he is fighting on social media with 12-year-olds and trolls and using burner accounts to do so. So KD is tough because I was sitting there watching last night going, boy, if he was only this without that nonsense on social media and friction with media members and former players, man, it'd be so easy to just consistently compliment what a great dude he is. But there's all of that. From a player's standpoint, last night, the ability to do what he did and almost single-handedly drag a team that was down 17 to a victory against a very good opponent to save the series, because if you're down 3-2 going to Milwaukee, yikes, is the reason why so many of us were frustrated when he chose the Warriors. It's because KD's always had the ability to do that for a team that didn't have the greatest shooter ever to live and the greatest shooting backcourt ever. And a team that had just won 73 games and gone to back-to-back finals and won a championship without him. He always had the ability, the talent, the game to do it and to win big without any of that help. But there was a reason to go there. And this was the reason. And it is showing itself now. And this is why in this sports media globe, the hot take, the now take, is so oftentimes ridiculous, is because things don't show themselves until much further on, much longer in the future. This happens in life all the time as well. We overreact to things every single day without being able to understand the larger picture at play. Kevin Durant always had the talent, won plenty of scoring titles in Oklahoma City, to win a championship, to be the best player in a championship team. The talent was never a question. Watching him for 1 year at Texas, it was obvious. This dude is special. He's unguardable. He's 7 feet tall with the wingspan of a center, but the athleticism and the agility of a lightning-fast shooting guard with the ball handling skills of a point guard, but the size and the length of a center. It is just unguardable. And his feathery touch and his athleticism and agility to twist and contort his body into space, into places, create a shot that others simply can't. He is a sniper. He is an assassin. He's one of the greatest offensive players ever to live. And last night that was all on display. But that was on display his entire career. what he couldn't figure out, and there's something going on in KD's brain that is not like a lot of other athletes, was this crushing pressure to win a championship, or else everything else was dismissed. And we are all part of that problem. All of us. Every single person that claims that Michael Jordan's the best because of 6. 6 beats whatever LeBron has. 6 beats Magic by 1. 6 beats Kobe by 1. 6 beats Tim Duncan by 1. And for those that go to Bill Russell's 11 and say 11 beats everything else. Once we distill success in sports down to how many rings you have, it creates the obvious echo effect of players just feel like at any cost, I got to win a ring. I don't care what the journey is. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how we do it. Just win it. And if that means microwaving it with a team with a bunch of stars around me, fine, let's do that. LeBron had to do that. KD did that. We're doing this with Tom Brady now. The moment Tom Brady won 5 championships, it was, well, he's better than Joe Montana because 5 is better than 4. Which, again, distills all of these comebacks and greatness and offensive acumen and late-game heroics. It distills it into just something so arbitrary, which is just a single-digit number. As though Robert Horry's rings make him, or Derek Fisher's rings make him, an automatic Hall of Famer. That's not the way that it works. But we do this all of the time. You don't mean anything as a superstar unless you win a championship. Everything is fraudulent and meaningless. So Kevin Durant felt that, heard that, and took the path of least resistance to get that ring. And got 2 of them. And by doing so, let's face it, those championships weren't fun. It wasn't fun to watch the Warriors demolish everybody, including a really good Cavs team with the best player on earth in LeBron James, and perhaps the greatest player ever, certainly one of the greatest players ever at the apex of his abilities. It wasn't fun to know that the Warriors had a no challenge, including against a LeBron-led team in LeBron's peak. That wasn't fun. You could admire it. You could be impressed by it. You could respect it. But it wasn't fun. There was nothing fun about it. It was a drama-less march to a championship. And that's what made it so unfulfilling. Because you know what? With all due respect to Kevin Durant's wonderful performances in the NBA Finals against the Cavs those years, if he wasn't on that floor, the Warriors may still win and probably would have still won. That's the reality. He was brilliant in those finals. Brilliant. But the Warriors had proven without Kevin Durant that they could win 73 games. They could win a championship 2 years earlier. And Steph and Clay took a step back offensively to allow Kevin Durant to be that guy. Had Durant not been there, Steph and Clay step up to be the offensive weapons that they were. So I always felt that to also be I thought it was a lark, and I thought it was a problematic assumption that, well, the Warriors needed Kevin Durant's performance in the NBA Finals or else they wouldn't have beaten LeBron. Maybe because LeBron and the Cavs had beaten them in 2016. But they certainly could have. It took Draymond Green being suspended and a Game 7 and an incredible series in 2016 for the Cavs to even do it down 3-1 without Kevin Durant. So they didn't need KD in 2017 and 2018 to win those titles. But what doing so did was it alleviated that crushing pressure of winning one. In understanding also what it meant to play in those finals with those expectations. Because by virtue of getting there in 17 and 18 and 19, and specifically 17 and 18 when Durant is the finals MVP and he is healthy, is he is taking big shots. He is making big shots with everything on the line, and he is succeeding. And now you have the comfort and the confidence that, hey, I can do this when it matters in the highest spots, in the most pressurized situations. This is all my preamble to what Kevin Durant's career was pretty dissatisfying. Maybe still is dissatisfying for many people. But it creates the guy that did that last night. All of that leads to this. Because KD is still the sniper that he was in Oklahoma City. And KD is still the talent that he was at Golden State, despite coming back off of this crazy Achilles injury. But Kevin Durant is wired differently now. He's wired differently because of his success in the NBA Finals. And so last night was bring it. Because if he loses last night, it's not the end of his career. It's not the end of his season. It's not another offseason of can he, will he, what does he need? He's a loser. He's a choker. If he loses last night, it is not he'll never get a title now. This was his last great shot. It's, I already got that. Now I know what it takes to get that, and let's see if we can do it again. It's a different type of confidence. Last night, KD was just a cold-blooded assassin that was unstoppable and unguardable. That happens through that evolution. And my only wish is there was some way to put this Kevin Durant back on a team like the Thunder, that of course still had Russell Westbrook, but where he had to do this without the soft landing pad of a great team around him. And we're seeing it now because of the injury to Kyrie and because of the injury to James Harden. Kyrie out, Harden severely limited. What will it take for Kevin Durant to just flat explode and impose his will? What does it take for the greatest player or one of the greatest players of the game to say, bleep all this, it's my time? And can we see him rise to that challenge, that greatness? That is the drama. That is the beauty of these sporting events. Can we watch the greatest say, it is my moment? And KD did this last night. And you only wish you could see this on a team that didn't have the superstars around him to be the soft landing spot. Maybe this postseason is it. Maybe Kyrie never comes back. Maybe James Harden's never quite right. And it becomes Kevin Durant needing to rely on Jeff Green of all people. Or next game, Joe Harris of all people. Or next game, Landry Shamet of all people. Maybe it becomes that. And if it doesn't, it's going to be glorious. Because last night was our first chance to see what it would be like to have the Kevin Durant of now on a Kevin Durant Thunder team. That's what it was like. And again, granted, Russell Westbrook's really good and a future Hall of Famer, so it's not quite apples to apples. But it is what is Kevin Durant when he's got to do everything, and he can. Man, it's last night, which is one of the most breathtaking playoff performances in recent memory, and perhaps ever. That's what it is. It all came together last night. And don't you just salivate wanting to see it again? Don't you just desperately want to see, can Kevin Durant do that again? How often can he do that? How will he do that? When will he do that? Because he can do that. I just thought last night was incredible theater, incredibly impressive, and the story of Durant's career is always so layered. And by virtue of being so layered, it led to a virtuoso performance like last night.